Hi everyone, my name is Tatum and here's my game devlog for my very first game, iQR. In this video I'll be showing you all of my process behind this game, how I got to my character designs, the entire gameplay design, my concept of course, and how I got here. So iQR is a platform game that I made a prototype of, not just for fun to be really honest. I of course love the process and making this game, and I really love the result. I'm really happy with it. But I made this game firstly for the admission process of the art school that I really wanted to go to, as well as for my final research project for high school. Art school that I really wanted to go to is the HKU, which is an art college in Utrecht. I'm sorry, everything is in Dutch. But they just sent me a link with the instructions to all assignments, which included putting together a portfolio, writing a motivation letter, and a design assignment. Now for the portfolio, I'm not going to focus too much on that right now. If you guys want, I would definitely not mind making a video about that, because I remember how much I struggled putting together my portfolio. I had no clue what kind of things teachers would be looking for, what they wanted in a portfolio. But of course I got a lot of tips from teachers, and my experience, I'm sure I would be able to help in that way, at least give some tips and tricks for that. But as I said, I'm not going to focus too much on that right now. The design assignment was basically to create a game or a prototype of a game or interactive experience for one of 3 target audiences, which included lonely elderly people, children in hospitals, or families on family trips. Now, the things they would be looking for, of course, would be: how did you get to this idea? What kind of research did you do? What kind of experience do you want the players to get? What are the rules? Why is it good for this target audience? And what makes your design unique, of course. So after I got this assignment, I was immediately super excited to get to work. And since this would be my very first game, I was extremely excited to actually go back to the very first games, like Donkey Kong, of course, which was a platformer. And I noticed how popular platformers were and still are. For example, I remember playing Fireboy and Water Girl all the time when I was a kid with my brother and sisters. But of course, there are a lot of even more recent, very successful examples, such as Cuphead, or of course tons of apps right now as well, not just in arcades or something. So that was very exciting, and I was really excited to get to work and do my own thing. This game, iQR, will be aimed towards patients aged 7 to 10 years old that have to spend long periods of time in hospitals due to various diseases. The child can choose one of several characters to which they can relate to most. The protagonist in the game is also a sick child fighting against its illness. The player will be fighting the same things they are fighting in real life, but now in a fun and empowering way. This will make the children feel like strong heroes. iQR will teach the player that the disease does not control them, but that they can control their disease. So the characters will be fighting their respective germs, cancer cells, etc. by using weapons or powers that include laser beams based upon chemotherapy, or injection needles. So these things, they already experience them in real life. This will subtly show that the children do not need to be afraid of needles or chemotherapy. The game will show them that by using these things they usually see as something negative, will actually make them stronger against their enemies, so against their disease. The game will consist of several character designs depicting several diseases. However, for this concept, I will only completely focus on one and elaborate on that specific character. This character is a young cancer patient who will be fighting cancer cells by using an injection needle as his weapon. For the player, I wanted the character to look cute and juvenile, so the player would be able to relate to the character. Moreover, I wanted the game to be the exact opposite of scary, to oppose the horror of the disease, in order to make the player feel empowered. As I started my research, I looked up images of cancer cells, and when I saw a few, the cells really reminded me of big fluffy spiders. I didn't want the enemy to be too terrifying, so I wanted to add huge, cute spider-like eyes on the character. This way the audience would not be intimidated and the purpose of the game will still be met. The player will feel empowered over its enemies. So I started my sketch and I made the body of the enemy very big and round, which has a somewhat cute effect. The big and glossy eyes also add to this adorable and almost harmless effect. This of course is crucial because the player should feel better and stronger than the enemy. I chose to give the enemy character a soft red color because red is often associated with danger, evil, anger, and the devil. So even though the shape of the character looks quite cute, this is subconsciously recognized as an enemy because of the red color. The player will know, oh okay, that's the enemy, that's the one that I have to kill in the game. My first player design was meant to remind the audience of a doll. The big head, which is completely out of proportion compared to its body, creates a cute effect. I wanted the character to look really happy and over the top positive. That's why I made sure that the smile takes up a massive part of the face. I also added blushy cheeks because young children often have pink cheeks when they start playing around, and I wanted to add that childlike and innocence effect to the character. Also, most babies are born with very light and blue-like eyes, and people often associate blue eyes with innocence and cuteness, which is why I chose to give the character blue eyes as well. I first designed the character with a green shirt because of the association with a hospital gown. However, I planned my background to be partially green too, and I wanted the character to stand out more, so I had to change the green shirt to a contrasting complementary color, which is red. Even though this contradicts with my reasoning for the coloring of the enemy, I still decided to choose red because I wanted my character to also look gender neutral, and boys would be able to relate to this character. That's why I didn't make the shirt pink or blue, which is often related to gender stereotypes. Besides, red is also the color of love. I created this character skeleton, which is a fundamental building block for animating for games. I followed various tutorials for this and decided to create a skeleton as well for this character. After trying out several designs for this style of iQR, I eventually decided to go for an old school retro pixelated style. This did not only go well with my purpose for the game to come across as nostalgic for the very first game and my very first game, but it also made it easier and faster for me to create assets and animations for in the game itself. Also, I genuinely enjoy drawing in this type of style. I love the challenge of creating something which could not have a lot of details, but should still be recognizable. Furthermore, using this style allowed me to make the game look even cuter and non-threatening. So I had to come up with a way to make my first designs into a pixelated style. Now, as you can see, I came up with that idea, but it wasn't just as easy like that. I first really wanted to stay with the doll-like the character design for the player, and I tried to create it into some kind of pixelated art style. It didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to. It actually looked like just a picture with a very, very, very low resolution, and I didn't like it at all. Furthermore, the character design itself was extremely difficult to animate. The legs would just twirl and fly off the screen, or would just move in circles like a helicopter, and it was just insane. So I wanted to come up with a character design that would be more easy to animate, and since my skills in programming just weren't very good yet, then all of a sudden my computer crashed. Years of work for my portfolio and months of work for this game just lost forever. So after a few mental breakdowns, I still decided to keep going. I really wanted this game to be finished. I really just wanted to create something of my own, something that I came up with, something that I really worked hard on. And as you can see, eventually it did work, but it took me quite a while. But after old Snapchats that I sent of processes of to my friends, I managed to find a few older drawings and recreate them again. And I created this enemy design, and the silly movement adds again to the non-threatening effect as well. As you can see, the way they move around, it looks kind of silly, almost like they're dancing. I really like it because it doesn't look very scary to the player. They still feel stronger than a silly sort of spider creature over there. I still remained quite closely to the very first design, since I was extremely happy with the way that turned out, and I thought it was really original as well. Now for the player, as you can see, changed completely. There was a huge difference for it as well. I do really like the way this turned out, and since it has the little needle as though it's a machine gun, kind of holding it that way, giving it sort of a melee combat feel as well. And since the player's legs are now just attached to itself and very short, it was very easy to animate it, since the player is just sliding across the platforms, and I wouldn't have trouble with helicopter legs or something like that. So that was very useful as well. The aim of iQR is to make sick children feel strong against their disease by fighting the illness they suffer in real life. To completely achieve that goal, it will not be possible to die in the game, so every player will always be a winner. Instead of a game over, every level will have a timer, and within that time, the player will try to defeat as many enemies as possible, earning as many points as possible. When the player touches an enemy, the player will bounce away and 2 seconds of the time limit will be deducted. When the player falls off a platform and off the screen, 5 seconds will be deducted from the time limit. This way, the player won't die, but the actions within the level still have its consequences. I also wanted to create some other things after every level. However, I wasn't able to do this within the time limit, but I'm still working on it, so I might be able to add it later on. So I wanted to make sure that after every level, a short animated picture will be shown on the player's screen, portraying clearly distinguishable figures representing family, friends, and pets. This will work as a kind of rewarding screen, since the player does not see its parents, friends, or pets as frequent as before they went to the hospital. Moreover, the players will be able to earn beats as a reward after they have finished a level. This is a subtle reference to a system many hospitals use for children who suffer from cancer in the Netherlands. To be 100% honest, I am not sure whether or not that is being used in other countries as well, but it basically means that whenever a child who suffers from cancer in the Netherlands receives treatment, for example, they have to get a few shots, they get a specific beat for that. So they collect all the beads and create a really big necklace from it, which shows their personal patient journey. And I wanted to include that into the game, so the child would understand, okay, so every time I beat this enemy, I am able to earn another beat. So the chain of earned beats tells the story of the player's personal patient's journey, also in the game. The children receive a new beat every time they finish a step in their treatment in real life, and here they can earn beats within every level. So for the other power of the player, it's the chemo laser. This power needs to be completely charged before it can be used. It also does a lot more damage than the pricking of the needle. The power is used as a laser being shot out of the character's hand. During the shooting of the laser, the character will lose its hair. However, the hair will grow back as the power is charging again. So once the hair is grown back fully, the power will be fully charged and can be used again. This process can be repeated infinite times throughout a level. The aim is to teach the audience that sometimes a sacrifice must be made in order to become stronger, so giving up the player's hair for a little while so it can defeat the enemies in a more effective way. This of course refers to the effect that chemotherapy has on the loss of the patient's hair. It will show children that even though it does suck to, for example, lose your hair, you actually become stronger after that. So as you can see over here, I created a little animation for the laser, the chemo laser. However, I decided later on that this was not the way which made it easy to work with the laser. So I just made two sprites, one for the beginning of the laser and one for just the straight piece. This made it a lot easier to program it. Said it was way easier to do it this way instead of just creating every sprite separately along with the laser. So I ended up putting both separately as well. So as you saw before, there was a long sprite every time with the laser. Now it's just only the character and the laser separately. This is something I would have never came up with. It's just experience I got from other game developers, which were a lot more, of course, experienced than I was, because this is my very, very first game. I'd never programmed before. I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of people online. Whenever I came across a problem, which when I look back, some of them were extremely stupid, which were just misspellings or just weird lines that didn't make any sense. But along with a lot of help from experienced programmers who were extremely kind, I managed to get to this prototype of iQR. I'm very happy with the result, and even though the process was sometimes quite hard and it didn't really always turn out the way I wanted it to, but eventually I'm very, very happy with the result. And of course I learned so much of this, and I am more than excited to get started working on more and more games, creating more and more game art in other styles as well than just pixel art. Extremely excited for that, and I hope you guys are excited to see more of my work in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!